Welcome back, Colts fans. This is Justin from Colts Brawl on the Brawl Network. Thanks for joining us once again for another great episode of the Colts Brawl. Today we have some exclusive interviews from both Chris Ballard and Frank Reich. So let's not listen to me all day. Let's go ahead and jump right into some of these exclusive interviews.
Without any preseason games and not a lot of hitting going on, I do envision you guys doing some scrimmages in place of that. But how, without all this going on, how do you guys, you and your staff, evaluate and separate from player to player?
Yeah, it'll be a little more difficult this year. Not having the live competition on game day when the lights come on and you're in front of fans and you're playing against a different team. It'll be a little different, but we'll set up competitive situations in camp and live. We'll have some live work in camp to make sure we're doing everything we can to get an accurate evaluation. The one thing is, like everybody else is in the same boat. So all 32 teams are dealing with this, and they're extending the practice squad to 16. So we're still going to have chances, even if we don't get to see, if a guy or two slips through, hopefully we get them back on the practice squad and we can continue to go through that evaluation process. It's going to be a challenge. I mean, to sit here and say it wouldn't be, I wouldn't be being honest. But we're going to do everything we can to set up as many live situations as we can to make sure we get to evaluate the team. I mean, like the scrimmages we had, like with Baltimore a couple of years ago, where, in Cleveland, those were invaluable. Those days of practice. I mean, I ended up watching the practices more than I even did the game tape. Those were invaluable. So we'll try to create as competitive and as physical and live of situations as we can to make sure we get it right. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Chris. So far, it seems like mostly rookies are in right now.
Mm-hmm.
How have they been able to gel together? I mean, obviously everything's kind of limited. You don't have all of the coaches there. You don't have everything that would normally be there. How do you see this really impacting our rookies and the rest of the rookies around the NFL?
That's a good question. I mean, look, they're going to be they're going to be behind the eight ball in some cases. And we got to do everything we can to give them a chance to show. But saying that, they've had all off season in terms of mentally being able to work. So from a playbook standpoint, now you got to get reps. But from a playbook standpoint, they understand. I brought up the example earlier when I was talking with, our local media about Darius Leonard didn't go through one rep in off season. None. He hurt. He had a quad. And so he didn't have one rep May, June during OTAs, off season work. And, he showed up in training camp and was defensive player of the year. So good players rise to the occasion, and they're going to rise to the top. And guys mentally, the mental part is the hardest, that's the hardest part for these guys because it's all new and it's so much. But if they stayed on top of it, I'm proud of the way they're all good in good physical shape. Our strength staff did an unbelievable job getting them, making sure they had programs and following them and making sure they were doing what they needed to do. So they all came back in really good shape, ready to hit training camp running. And look, college football does this every year. They don't have any. They line up and play. I mean, they practice, they go through camp, and then they line up and play in games that count. And that's kind of where we're going to be at. So yeah, are they behind the eight ball a little bit? Yes, but I don't think it's something that is just going to be debilitating, for all of them or for many of them.
So my next question here is, there's been a lot of players around the league that have been concerned for the safety that the league is pushing out for COVID. What kind of concerns do the Colts players have coming into the season, and what has the team really been working on to combat that?
Yeah, we had a call last night. We went through everything, and there was a lot of questions, which there should be. I mean, how do you got to make people feel comfortable and trust what you're doing, and then two, if they're asking questions, that also allows us to evaluate and make sure we're continuing to do the right things and we're educating them in the right way. At this point, I think we're good. They're asking a bunch of questions, which they should. We want them to feel comfortable and know that we're going to do everything we can to keep them safe and give them the right direction when they're out of the building to help their family stay safe. But yeah, this is the unknown. This is unknown territory. It's unknown territory for all of us. And so every day is going to be a new learning experience, and we got to be able to adjust on the fly and don't get in panic mode when something doesn't go the way you want it to go, which Frank and I, neither one of us do. And you just keep moving forward. And that's what we'll do.
Frank, one of the most special and intriguing positions there is to watch in training camp is the wide receiver position. And this is sort of a two-parter. One undrafted free agent I've grown to like a lot is DeMichael Harris. He is a really fast and speedy, shifty player. How do you evaluate the wide receiver group with how much depth there is, and if he makes it past the unfortunate cuts you guys are going to have to make? How much of a big emphasis can he make and a statement he can make in this offense?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Michael, he's fast and he's quick. I was impressed with him during the OTA meetings. He has a really good presence about himself. You can tell it's not going to be too big for him. I've had a chance to see him in the walkthroughs here. He's handled everything mentally well. I'm excited to see him get the ball in his hands. And I know this guy's an explosive player. So get the ball in his hands, get pads on, and give him an opportunity to prove himself. One of the things that, with this new normal we have is the practice squad is bigger. And we always have a view that every year, even in previous years, that our practice squad players are part of our roster because most of them end up being on the active roster at some point. And we just probably feel like that's going to even be more the case this year. So looking forward to see what he has. Looking forward to seeing him bring some juice.
Hey, Frank. So my question is, I just seen that Phillip just came in yesterday, and my question was that how motivated is Phillip, coming in, with a new team and everything? He's a veteran in this league, but he's coming in like knowing the playbook, being with you in San Diego and everything. So how motivated is Phillip, for this season coming up?
Yeah, I mean, this guy, I've known him for a while. This guy is motivated all the time. He wakes up motivated. It doesn't take much to get him going. He loves ball. He loves the locker room, the teammate, everything about it. This being his 17th year, he and I, we had a team meeting this morning. We had a team meeting this afternoon, and after the meeting was over, he and I sat there and talked for an hour. Just talked ball for just an hour. Just, his day was over because it was at the end of the day for him, and it was really the first time we had a chance to sit down and talk at depth, but just talk through the roster. And he was talking through even the little bit of throwing he's done with some of his new teammates, and just listening to him talk about his new teammates. That was really exciting. It was exciting to him. It was exciting to me. So I can't wait. He already looks so good. I told him he already looks good in that blue horseshoe. He had a blue sweatshirt on with the horseshoe, and I've already gotten used to looking at him in it. So that feels good to me. Really looking forward to the impact that he's going to have on this team.
Hey, Coach. So last year there was a huge emphasis on the run game, which I think has really helped the offense, in all honesty. This year we draft Jonathan Taylor, we bring on Roosevelt Nix. How is this going to really affect the way that the offense runs, and what's that pass run ratio going to look like this year?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good, Justin. Yeah, real big run emphasis. That's going to continue to be a big emphasis. We just believe that's part of the winning formula. In a pass-happy league, at the end of the day, when you look at it, it's not 100%, but a lot of the teams that are in it at the end, and it's not always everyone, but most of them can run the football. And so, you know, we're going to continue to put an emphasis on it. The exact percentages, I always like to say, guys, like in the perfect world, the perfect game is you run for 150 yards and you throw for 250 plus. You know what I mean? You throw for 250 plus. You get about 65 plays. Phillips, 21 for 30 for 250, you know, and then we've got 35 runs. You know, we got 35 runs for 4 point something to carry, because at the end we're running 4-minute offense and we're just grinding it out. And so that's 65 plays. That's a nice stat line. You know, that's a nice stat line. One of the things that we want to do, Justin, that better than what we did last year is we had multiple games that we were over 200 yards rushing, which is hard to do in this league, let alone do it several times. But we also had some games where we just got stymied, where we did nothing. And so we want to be a more consistent team. You know, we don't want to walk, you know, I know there's good defenses that it's hard to run against, but we're good enough on offense that we should be able to run the ball against anybody. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just talking to you guys here. I've never really had this as a goal. Maybe this will be a new goal for us as we're talking, that we have no less than 100 yards in any game. I wonder if that's ever been done before. I don't know if anybody can look that up, but that would be an interesting stat to me. Has any team ever gone a whole year? They probably have. It's probably not that hard to do. I don't know. But we need to be more consistent.
Yes, Frank, with Jacob Eason, you know, he had the biggest arm in the draft. We all knew that. I liked him. When it comes to no preseason games, will that sort of push back his developmental process without, you know, seeing a new defense, seeing new players? And what are some of the things that you are excited to get and work on with him that you weren't able to do so virtually?
Yeah, just fun seeing him throw. But yeah, I mean, first of all, to answer the first question, Michael, it does hurt the development a little bit, but it's just the way it is for all the rookies. So, you know, you just got to work extra hard at it. We really believe that, and as a guy who was a backup quarterback for a lot of years personally, and not getting a lot of reps and still figuring out ways to get better, you just look at it like that's just the challenge. That's just the reality. But I think Jacob's done a nice job. You know, I've been in a lot of quarterback meetings, you know, and just seeing his understanding. Early on, I met with him several times, you know, one-on-one, just going over some stuff, protections and stuff like that. And you can feel his aptitude. He's got a really good aptitude. And even just for the few days that we've been out here, I mean, he's the only quarterback out on the field right now in these walkthroughs. So you can he's doing a very good job mentally. And, you know, we're doing walkthroughs, but a lot of times at the end of it, he's still throwing the football. And he throws, you know, we all knew this, like you said. I mean, you can just watch him throw the ball. The guy knows how to throw the football. So it's just going to take some time. It's just going to take some time. The quarterback position is a big jump. You know, he's behind a couple guys that are really, you know, in Phillip and Jacoby that he can learn from and have time to grow. So, and then he's competing with Chad for that number 3 spot, and it'll just be fun to see how that plays out in camp.
So this might be a little unclear with everything being so fluid with COVID and changing every day, but do you see there being a place, like a special list for each of the teams that have players throughout the season that test positive for COVID, or do you think it's going to end up taking spaces on the 53-man roster just like normal injuries would?
Well, they are making, you know, the league, thank goodness, is you know, they're making some exceptions about how the roster can move, how guys can move more freely to and from the practice squad, obviously bigger practice squad. There's the COVID injury reserve list, as it all gets finalized. It'll be, hopefully it's not necessary, but it probably will be. The way Chris and I keep talking about it is, let's just not flinch no matter what happens. Let's just not flinch. We can handle anything. We'll get guys ready to play. We'll figure it out. We'll adapt and we'll adjust. We would love for the best case scenario happen that no one goes down and everyone stays healthy. But, we've talked about all this. We've talked about I think all the scenarios we can. I mean, and we're trying to do the best we can to have a plan for all those scenarios, including with coaches as well. I've already talked through with the coaching staff in detail, what happens if this coach goes down or this coach or these two coaches to go down, or who's calling the game if I go down, or who's calling the game if Flus goes down. So every scenario that you can think of that could happen as from players and coaches, we're talking about all. I can't say we've hit everyone. We're trying to hit them all, but we're just going to have to adapt and adjust as we go. And I think the league is doing a good job giving us the tools to be able to do that in the right way.
All right, Colts fans, that does it here from us at Colts Brawl. We really hope you enjoyed that interview with Chris Ballard and Frank Reich. We hope to be able to get them on here again soon and get some more questions then. So be on the lookout on our social media for those times and get your questions in. See you guys next week and have a great week.